Welcome to part 1 of 7 of a short Guild Wars 3 lore series where we are diving into the most important details of each of the 6 human gods present in Guild Wars 3, plus one additional entity that I want to speculate about. Today we are going to quickly talk about Balthazar. Out of all the human gods, this is maybe the one we have experienced the most, given the fact that he is the main villain of the Path of Fire story. As he is the main villain of the story, we do actually defeat him. The human gods are, generally speaking, regular entities from somewhere in the mists who have been empowered by immense amounts of magic from an unknown and mysterious source. The original magics of Balthazar were actually stripped from him. Following Cormyr's ascension to godhood after the defeat of Abaddon in the Nightfall campaign in the original Guild Wars, the human gods continued to push themselves away from Tyria and wished to sever ties with the planet entirely to protect the planet from the potential effects of the gods fighting the Elder Dragons. Balthazar vehemently disagreed with the other gods, saying that they should in fact wage war against the Elder Dragons and add their own powers and magics to their own, ridding the world of the threats of the dragons while empowering the gods even more, completely ignorant of the fact that the Elder Dragons and their magic are essentially the lifeblood of Tyria, and Tyria would be destroyed without the flow of magic. So, the other human gods decided to turn their backs on Balthazar, took his magic from him, and imprisoned him somewhere in the mists. It wasn't until the Char Rithlock Brimstone was searching through the mists for his lost sword Sahothan where he discovered a man he did not know. Next to him, Sahothan, the fiery dragon sword, extinguished. The man offered Rithlock a deal: free him and he shall reignite Sahothan so that the Char can wield it again. And, as Rithlock agreed, it wasn't until later when he pieced together that that man was Balthazar. While the other human gods did turn their back on Balthazar, Lissa felt empathetic towards Balthazar and lent him her aid, granting Balthazar a powerful enchanted magical mirror that allowed Balthazar to disguise himself. As Balthazar was freed, with the mirror in hand, he returned to Tyria disguised as the Mersat known as Lazarus, who was worshipped by the human cult known as the White Mantle that was trying to bring Lazarus back to Tyria. Through this disguise, Balthazar detonated the Meguma Bloodstone, an artifact filled with immense amounts of magic, to blast the magic out of the stone and then draw it back into himself, regaining much of his power. With said power, he then began his path of fire across Alona to fight Krakatork and take his magic for his own as well. Which, as the human gods predicted, could potentially be disastrous, and this is a result of the actions of Balthazar and the other human gods as they chose to strike down and imprison one of their own, Abaddon. Much like with Balthazar, Abaddon disagreed with the other human gods. He wished to freely grant magic to humanity in any way they wanted it, while the gods recognized that that would only bring destruction to Tyria, especially as they had already been giving a ton of magic the year prior, and it only caused war and destruction. More would only make it worse. As a result of this disagreement, the gods warred against each other, and the consequences were immense. The Crystal Sea boiled into the Crystal Desert, while a part of Alona, at the site of Abaddon's eventual defeat, was ravaged into the desolation. Magic was not the only thing gifted by the gods to humanity. Going back to the magical sword Sahothan, the main reason Balthazar was able to restore magic to that blade is because it is Balthazar's own sword, alongside its twin, Magdair, and a crown gifted to the royal lineage of Ascalon. Artifacts designed to be able to be used as a last-ditch measure to protect humanity from invasion by enacting a powerful ritual that did eventually come to pass, known as the Full Fire. Before Balthazar and the other human gods slowly started to retreat from public eye, Balthazar did engage with humanity a great amount. The biggest being with how Balthazar engaged in war. Aptly named the God of War, Balthazar drove humanity across Tyria to fight against the native populations of the planet so that humanity could take it for themselves. But, much to Balthazar's surprise, the population of the planet would not be so easily defeated. But through this, there are many depictions and stories of Balthazar leading humanity in battle, alongside his own hounds, Timur and Tegan. One of the most interesting and mysterious parts of Balthazar is that we actually have some details about his own family. He was the second god to enter Tyria, and as he did, he brought with him the severed head of his own father. Why exactly this is the case is unknown, but potentially he took the mantle of godhood from his father, or just straight up didn't like him. but he also has a half-brother named Mingus, the Lord of Destruction. If through his father or mother that Balthazar and Mingus are related is unknown, and who exactly their parents are is also unknown. But Mingus himself has waged war against Balthazar throughout history. Each of the human gods has a realm within the mists that they individually control and are deeply connected to Tyria as the human gods settled on Tyria. Balthazar's is known as the Fissure of Woe, a realm of war and fire. Mingus and his own minions, known as the Shadow Army, have tried to take the realm from Balthazar, as Balthazar has described Mingus as a traitor. Balthazar's own army in this conflict, known as the Eternal Battle, is an organization of ghosts in service of Balthazar, known as the Eternals. But in Path of Fire, we saw Balthazar stealing countless souls from the underworld, Grinth's realm, including the legendary hero Devona. He did this against the wishes of his fellow human god, Grinth. He took these souls and forged them into living constructs of metal and fire, aptly named the Forged. And of course, Balthazar has countless human followers, and some non-human, like a Graw tribe. A group of human followers who are devout to Balthazar is the Zaishin Order, practitioners of strength and combat. This order followed the core teachings of Balthazar. Within the Path of Fire story, we saw this group become divided as Balthazar himself walked away from his own teachings. A sect of the Zaishin followed him blindly while others continued to practice the old ways. After the defeat of Balthazar, we saw the sect of Zaishin who practiced the old ways, led by Zephyra, continue celebrating strength and combat while following the original teachings of Balthazar. As we begin our adventures in Guild Wars 3, the Zaishin will likely be playing a decently big part within the world that we will be exploring, allowing an opportunity to include some player versus player gameplay into the game, just like how they were utilized in the original Guild Wars. Alongside them, Balthazar should obviously be playing a major role in the game as well, with Guild Wars 3 having a big focus on the human gods. Within Guild Wars 3, Balthazar is very interesting thus far because we have gotten a small group of concept art for the game released alongside the announcement of the game, and Balthazar is alone from the human gods and being showcased in one of the concept arts, which is an incredible piece of concept art, which, very importantly, represents a statue of Balthazar and not the god himself. And that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. Balthazar is an incredibly interesting character that we know a lot about thus far, and I am excited to learn more as we get closer to the release of Guild Wars 3 and as Guild Wars 3 releases. If you like this video, please consider subscribing because it helps me a ton. I hope you all are taking great care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.